Hi, and I've read the first 5 chapters of the book of Hebrews. Now, this is one book that is a mystery because no one knows for sure who wrote it, but it's quite obviously written by a Jewish Christian, written to the Jewish Christians by someone who was most likely an apostle. I feel like I got so much, like I've always gotten Paul vibes from it, but no one knows that, it was Paul. So the book is actually rich in theology, and I'll confess that it was one of the harder ones for me to read when I first started out reading the Bible. But I thank God for Tara Lee Cobble and Bible Recap, and for God for giving me that strength and grace to actually read the Bible through and not abandon it this year. So this book gives full insight into who Jesus was as the Son, to whom the whole universe and everything in it is subject to. Now, there was some warning. The warning in chapter 2 stood out to me, particularly because of how easy it is to drift away from the word that we have heard. Faith comes by hearing and hearing. So the more we hear, the more our faith grows. So the moment we stop hearing and actively seeking God, that's the beginning of drifting away from Him. And so we now begin to forget about God, really. So this further cements, like reading this just further cements my ambition to read, to finish reading this Bible. And then after I finish reading it this year, I'm going to go again next year. And I hope you will too, because now I feel as if because I can do it, I've seen that I can do it, I want to keep on doing it, and just keep on learning and getting fresh revelation every time I read this Bible, and keep #getting to know God more. Now, in chapter 3, verse 14, it taught me that those who know God will continue to believe in Him. They won't fall away. And those who fall away never really knew Him and had not received new hearts. So unbelief was able to thrive in their hearts. Now, I thought, as I wrote this and I thought about it as someone who obviously gave my life to Christ young, but then I backslid so many times. And I thought about it. Does that mean that every time you, like, for the fact that you backslid didn't mean that you don't know Him? No, because sometimes, and I'm sure many people can relate to this reality. Like I said, if you're not actively seeking God, so sometimes you forget and you just go back to. But then the fact of the matter is that when I say fall, I feel like the word fall away here doesn't mean, fall away the way we think. I think it's just really about having new hearts. So I believe sometimes we have new hearts, but we just don't acknowledge those new hearts and actively allow the Holy Spirit to lead us in that new heart. But I know one thing's for sure, is that if you are, just from what I've learned here, if you are one of those that God has given to Jesus, He's not going to let you go. And whatever happens, you're still going to come into the knowledge of Him, because you have a place in the kingdom. So, just reading this just gladdens my heart. And I urge you to just allow that new heart that has been given after accepting Jesus to really come into manifestation in your thoughts, words, actions, and deeds. That being said, another thing that I learned was that we are accepted by God because of Christ's finished work on the cross. And this has granted us access to thrive to the throne of grace. In chapter 4, verse 16, we know that. So God invites us to come to Him. Now, as I read chapter 5, I remembered reading about Melchizedek in the Old Testament, and there's such a rich connection between him and Jesus here in this chapter. But then, in case you forgot it, you can go back and read about it. And in chapter 6, 1-3, there were verses that I learned during workers' training meeting, right, when I was training to be a worker in church. And it's a call to move on from basic and foundational knowledge of Christ's teaching and mature in the faith. And I believe that was a very pivotal moment for me. I remember when I decided to do the workers' training, and really it is a point where you sort of mature, because you're leaving behind all the things that you've known, possibly the things that you know from verbal assent and things that you were taught, growing up in Sunday school, and really just begin to get into the meat, of your work with God. So anyway, here's the lesson I learned about God. God deals gently with the ignorant and wayward, not rebellious people. He shows mercy to those who are uninformed or prodigal. And I got that from chapter 5, verse 2-3, and I'll just read that to you. It says, He's able to deal gently with those who are ignorant and going astray, since he himself is subject to weakness. Now, this is talking about the high priest at the time, just a regular high priest. This is why he has to offer sacrifice for his own sins and for the sins of the people. So this is like this was like a comparison of like a regular high priest. Then how much more Jesus, who is our high priest, that is better than any of these other high priests. So it gives details of this, and I found it comforting to know that there is grace for me through Jesus when I miss the mark. Thank you for joining me today. We'll still continue with the book of Hebrews tomorrow, and I hope you'll join me and keep strong till we finish the Bible this year. God bless you. Bye.